I knew about that girl only after they had been together for quite some time. Nathan had protected her well. Even when he brought her to social events and introduced her to all his friends, I had never seen a single photo of her, didn't even know her name. If it hadn't been for today, when he couldn't resist her begging and showed up at the fashion show launch as an investor, I might have stayed clueless forever. From a distance, I watched Nathan gaze at the girl walking down the runway, his eyes full of tender affection. Camera flashes were going off non-stop. A reporter finally asked, "Mr. Nathan, are you also a fan of Sienna's song?" Nathan didn't even glance at the reporter. With a calm expression, he replied, "She's the one I love." So even someone like him, always cold and aloof, could pamper a girl to this extent. I subconsciously twisted the dull wedding ring on my finger. Suddenly, everything felt meaningless. After the show ended, the storm outside was still raging. Nathan walked out of the venue and was visibly startled to see me standing there. "Why are you here?" In fact, I'd never told him that the design sketches for this fashion show, the ones he had poured money into, were mine. During these 9 years of marriage, while I may have appeared to be nothing more than a housewife, I was also a fairly well-known fashion designer. This time, the organizers had sent me a personal invitation to attend the show. Just then, Sienna came out as well, wearing an extravagant runway gown. Her cheeks were flushed red. It was obvious she'd had too much to drink. In a soft, spoiled voice, she said, "Nathan?" As soon as he heard her, Nathan turned around immediately and instinctively reached out to support her arm, eyes filled with concern. "How much did you drink?" he asked. Sienna leaned on his shoulder, acting coquettishly. "I toasted a few more times with the organizers. They said they want me back for the main show next season." Nathan hurriedly took off his coat and gently draped it over her shoulders. His voice was soft. "You don't have to push yourself so hard. I have more than enough money to support you for several lifetimes." A chill swept over me. I let out a bitter chuckle. I remembered the year Nathan's startup failed, and his company desperately needed $5 million to survive. At that time, my original fashion sketches were being hotly pursued by major brands and organizers. I sold them without hesitation, but I made one request, that Nathan be named a sponsor. The organizer already had a designer they wanted to promote, so they agreed, on one condition. I had to keep my identity as the real creator a secret. That season's fashion show ended up a huge success. Nathan, as the sponsor, used the momentum to save his company from the brink of collapse and successfully entered the fashion industry. With my help, he climbed the ladder step by step and eventually became one of the most influential figures in the field. His name now carried weight across the entire industry. I built his brilliant career, but his light had never once illuminated me. Sienna playfully punched Nathan in the chest with a small fist and teased, "You know I'm not a delicate flower." Nathan looked at her with a soft smile curling on his lips. At that moment, the driver pulled the car up to the entrance. When he saw me, he called out, "Ma'am." Sienna didn't realize the driver was talking to me. She thought Nathan was calling her, so she giggled and said, "You're so bad. When did I ever agree to that?" Nathan's face turned red. He looked at me, and for a moment panic flickered in his eyes. But in the end, he still wrapped his arms around the tipsy Sienna and helped her into the car. Through the rain-soaked night, that black Maybach slowly disappeared from my sight. After it drove off, a familiar voice rang beside me. "Was it worth it?" I smiled faintly. "It's not about whether it was worth it or not. Life is still long. If something isn't good for you, you throw it away." "I heard you've got a new original design in the works," the voice said. I turned to meet those bright, gleaming eyes and teased, "Mr. Alex Shu, do you have me under surveillance or something?" When I got home, Nathan still hadn't returned. The living room was dim and silent, so quiet it felt suffocating. I took off the wedding ring from my finger and tossed it aside. It clinked softly against the floor, and I had no idea where it rolled. Without another glance, I turned and went upstairs. I pulled out my suitcase and opened the wardrobe, only to realize I didn't even own many decent outfits. Ever since marrying Nathan, I'd become a full-time housewife. Aside from a few sets of loungewear, I barely had anything suitable to wear outside. Even the ring he gave me when he proposed didn't fit properly. Over the years, the thing I ended up buying the most was kitchenware. But whatever, I didn't want to think about all that anymore. When the movers arrived, I was in the middle of smashing our wedding portrait. They froze the moment they walked in. One of the older men chuckled awkwardly and asked, "Are you getting divorced?" The younger guy beside him quickly covered the older man's mouth and bowed apologetically. "I'm so sorry about that." I smiled and replied, "Yes." The older mover rolled up his sleeves and asked, "So what are we moving?" I pointed around the room and realized that 80% of everything in this house had been bought by me. I looked back at the two movers and said, "You guys should call in more help." By the time I moved everything back to my apartment, it was already 3 a.m. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the couch and opened my phone. Right there, topping the trending news, was a photo of Nathan carrying Sienna into a hotel. The headline read, "Domineering CEO's beloved returns. Top model Sienna Song's relationship revealed." Sienna truly was Nathan's one that got away. I remember on our wedding night, Nathan got drunk and kept calling out her name in our bridal suite. Back then I just thought, everyone has someone they can't forget. He had his, and I had mine. So who was I to demand more from him? The next morning, he was gentle and attentive, sweetly calling me wifey like nothing had happened. He never mentioned a word about the night before. I had convinced myself maybe he didn't remember, or maybe he was deliberately pretending. But now it's clear, he never forgot Sienna. Not for a second. The next morning I was woken up by the ringing of my phone. As soon as I answered, Nathan's furious voice roared through the speaker. "Anna, where the hell did you go?" I rubbed my sleepy eyes and checked the time. It was only 7 a.m. "You're done already?" I said, sitting up on the couch and glancing at the still unpacked furniture around me. Nathan paused, then shouted, "What the hell are you talking about?" "Weren't you at the hotel with Sienna?" I replied lazily. I was just dropping her off," he snapped. I let out a yawn and couldn't help laughing. "Oh really? So after dropping her off at the hotel, what did you two do? Play poker?" "Oh wait, you need 3 people for poker. So what was it? Playing train conductor instead?" Nathan took a deep breath on the other end of the line. "Even if you're mad, there's gotta be a limit. Fine, be dramatic, but why the hell did you move the entire bed out of the house?" I let out a cold chuckle. "Because I bought it." "What about the curtains?" he growled. "Also mine." He gritted his teeth. "The sofa and the carpet too?" "Yep, all mine. Want me to send you the receipts?" "Fine, you bought them, you take them, I won't argue. But why the hell did you uninstall the smart lock too?" I glanced at the smart lock sitting in the trash and burst out laughing. "Nathan, I just took everything that belongs to me. I'll send the divorce papers to your email. If everything looks good, let's split cleanly and peacefully." And with that, I hung up the call, blocked his number, and deleted him from my contacts and messaging apps. Once I finished organizing everything in my new apartment, I received a call from Alex Shu. He said the last fashion show had been a huge success and hoped I would attend the celebration banquet. I knew exactly what he was trying to do. He was extending an olive branch, hoping I would take the lead in designing next season's major fashion IP line. I had spent 3 whole years carefully developing that design series. I hadn't expected him to learn about it so quickly. Shortly after, Alex sent over a 2025 spring couture gown, custom-made to my measurements. His sincerity was loud and clear. "I'm waiting for you here. All the top fashion investors are dying to meet the mysterious designer behind the collection. Won't you do me this one favor?" Alex Shu said enthusiastically. I held the invitation in my hand and glanced at the guest list. Nathan and Sienna's names were right there in bold. But what really caught my eye was Shane? Why was Shane on the guest list? "That's exactly why I insisted you come," Alex explained. "I have no idea why Mr. Supermodel Shane insisted on attending my celebration, but his agent said he wants to collaborate with me for next season's show. Anna, next season's design absolutely has to be yours." I hadn't even decided who I wanted to partner with for the next series. "Leave that to me," Alex replied confidently. "I'll coordinate both the runway and the promotional materials at the same time." His voice rose with excitement. "I've already planned it all out. Since you're getting divorced anyway, why not go public with your identity?" With your reputation as the real lead designer and Shane as a collaborator, this next season is bound to blow up. You'll leave everyone else in the dust. My mind was spinning with 100 thoughts. Shane probably had no idea I was the designer, so to say he came specifically for me, that was a bit of a stretch. I let out a soft, helpless laugh. Fine, I'll be there on time. Anna, I love you, Alex shouted joyfully. I'm sending a car now. The stylist will be arriving soon. You just sit tight, everything's already taken care of. The event was held in the most luxurious rooftop venue at the finest hotel in City A. As we entered the Grand Central Hall, Alex pointed to a group of people in the middle, including Nathan. Every one of those guys made a killing off last season's fashion show, he said. I swear, I don't know what your brain is made of. Every design you touch just explodes in popularity. They've been calling you a genius. Want to go say hi? He offered. I shook my head. No, thanks. Just then, Sienna spotted Alex. Dressed in a glittering silver mermaid gown, she picked up a glass of champagne and walked toward us. Mr. Shu, she said sweetly, you've worked the hardest this season. I'd like to offer you a toast. I turned my back, not wanting to engage with her. After what happened yesterday, I figured Alex already knew who she was. His tone sharpened with restrained annoyance. I'm allergic to alcohol, he said flatly. Sienna's expression shifted slightly. She couldn't help but wonder if she had offended him somehow. After all, he had certainly been drinking at the fashion launch party. But she still had to play her part. With a bit of awkwardness, she exchanged her champagne for a glass of juice from a passing server. Well then, you take juice and I'll still drink champagne. No matter what, this first toast is for you, she said with a strained smile. Alex didn't even reach out for the juice she was offering. He simply raised an eyebrow and replied, Anything from you. I'm allergic to all of it. Sienna bit her lower lip, her eyes welling up. Did I do something to offend you? Is it about that trending post? But didn't the publicity actually help the fashion show? I don't need trashy gossip-based publicity, Alex replied coldly. And Miss Song, your messy entanglement with Mr. Grant, you do realize he's a married man, don't you? Sienna's face went pale in an instant. Nathan and I had kept our marriage hidden from the public. Even when there were occasional rumors, Nathan always managed to suppress them. So most people didn't know we were married, unless they were very close to us. But Sienna definitely knew. Back then, Nathan had only used our marriage to provoke her. But he didn't get what he wanted. In the end, it was me who received a generous gift bag and a text from Sienna. Miss Anna Grant, please keep your husband in check. Tell him to stop contacting me. Since you're already married, we should each go our own way. I never showed that text to Nathan. I didn't want to hurt him. Now, standing before me, Sienna clutched her glass tightly, the corners of her lips trembling. But she couldn't find anything to say in her own defense. Her eyes unintentionally drifted in my direction. The moment she saw me, her face was filled with shock. What are you doing here? Alex immediately stepped in front of me. I invited her. Nathan's eyes narrowed as he watched how Alex Shu was treating me. His expression was full of confusion. Everyone in the industry knew Alex had a difficult personality and wasn't friendly to anyone. Yet every fashion show he led turned into a massive success. Now, seeing how respectful and protective he was toward me, made Nathan frown deeply. You know designer Sue? Sienna leaned a little closer to Nathan, her tone coy. Seems like there's something going on between you two. Before I could say a word, Alex suddenly snapped. Do you think everyone's as shameless as you? Sienna's face turned red instantly. With Nathan standing beside her, she didn't hold back. What are you even talking about? Just because you're a designer, that gives you the right to insult a supermodel. If I had known what kind of person you were, I wouldn't have let you walk as a background model, let alone the lead. Alex fired back coldly. Sienna had spent 3 years doing supporting roles after returning from studying abroad, before finally becoming the headline model this season. It was clear Nathan had pulled strings to make it happen. He probably thought things were finally going in the right direction for her, but Alex's blunt dismissal had completely crushed all that. Nathan looked like he was about to lose it. Designer Shu, what did I ever do to offend you? Sienna snapped, on the verge of tears. Why don't you just say it outright? She turned to me. eyes filled with suspicion. Did he say something to you? Don't believe a word from him. He's just a petty, jealous man. I couldn't help but laugh. Jealous? I said. People had started to gather around, forming a loose circle around us. Still smiling, I asked, what exactly am I jealous of? That you're a homewrecker? Nathan's face darkened with shame and anger, and he suddenly slapped me hard across the face. Gasps echoed through the room. My hairpin flew to the floor, and the hairstyle the stylist had spent hours on completely unraveled. Strands of hair stuck to my face, and I held my cheek as I let out a bitter laugh, one I couldn't seem to stop. Nathan stared at his trembling hand, then clenched it tightly, and tried to compose himself. Everyone here is a major figure in the fashion world. Do you understand that one word from you could destroy a supermodel's career? Alex stared at me, dumbfounded. What are you doing? He shouted. Babe, are you okay? Anna, babe, Nathan sneered. Anna Grant, I thought you two just knew each other. But now it's obvious, Sienna was right. You two are more than just friends. He even called you babe. I brushed back my loose hair, raised my head, and looked Nathan straight in the eye. More than friends? Then why don't you, Mr. Grant, tell everyone here who I really am? Sienna immediately grabbed Nathan's arm, panicking. Nathan, calm down. Think about the big picture. If word gets out that Southwest Fashion House definitely won't collaborate with us for next season. Alex let out a cold laugh. Don't worry, you'll never work with Southwest again. Not in this life, Nathan scoffed. Wow, I didn't realize Southwest was your personal lapdog, Alex. They obey your every word now? I reached out to stop Alex from punching Nathan and calmly stepped forward. Then I slapped Nathan across the face. That's for cheating on me behind my back, I said. Then I hit him again, hard. And that's for slapping me just now. Nathan clutched his face, furious. Anna Grant, are you insane? I nodded without hesitation. Then I picked up a bottle of red wine and smashed it over his shoulder. That's your punishment for insulting Southwest. Sienna screamed, Anna Grant, you're absolutely... I grabbed another glass of wine and threw it in her face. Sienna, you knew full well he was married, and you still got involved. If the internet turns on you, you deserve it. As a public figure, your actions have already ruined your career as a supermodel. From now on, you'll never get that title back. Sienna looked down at her now wine-soaked couture gown. Her eyes burned as she raised her chin defiantly. Fine, just you wait. I'll become a household name. A top supermodel everyone knows, and you'll pay for everything you said today. I gave her a cold smile. I'll be watching. I didn't want to stay in that room another second. But just as I turned to leave, Nathan grabbed my wrist and yanked me into a corner. Nathan stared at me. Have you lost your mind? What good does it do you to treat Sienna like that? If you want a divorce, I'll give it to you. But making a scene like this in public, what are you trying to accomplish? Who are you trying to embarrass? I yanked my hand out of his grip. Isn't it obvious? I wanted to humiliate both of you. Nathan lowered his head and let out a heavy sigh. I'm the one divorcing you. I hoped we could handle it quietly. Sienna needs the Southwest collection. If she can become the lead model for their next show, she'll be a shoo-in for the highest award in fashion next season. So that's what all this was for. Swallowing my pride so the mistress could shine? Nathan Grant, how could you even say that to me? I'm willing to split my assets with you, he added. I laughed and rubbed my forehead. Did you forget who got you where you are today? Nathan suddenly gripped my shoulder tightly. Don't push me to use other means. Other means? I said flatly. What kind of means? I'm dying to hear. Nathan lifted his head, a look of disbelief flashing in his eyes. Then he started to laugh. So that's why you're insisting on a divorce. It's because of him, isn't it? I turned and glanced at Shane, who was leaning casually against the wall, watching the scene unfold like it was a show. Shane smiled. Anna, are you really divorcing this trash because I came back? Nathan's eyes blazed with fury. Who the hell are you calling trash? Shane's smile was as bright and warm as sunlight. Anna is a gem. I'm the fashion industry's top model. So if one of us here is trash, who else could it be? He glanced at Nathan with scathing mockery. If trash needed a name, I'd say it's Nathan Grant. Shane had always had a sharp tongue, so sharp it used to make me cry with just a few words. The last time I cried for him was when he turned down my confession. But back then, Shane hadn't exactly kept his distance. A woman's sixth sense is never wrong. I thought things had naturally progressed to that point, so I confessed. But he told me he saw me as a little sister. Not long after, I met Nathan. And at the time I figured, what's the difference anyway? If the outcome is the same, does it matter who I'm with? Now, seeing Shane again, my heart stirred with ripples I couldn't control. It was true. Someone who captured your heart at first glance would always have the power to move you, no matter how much time had passed. But I wasn't delusional. I threw Nathan's hand off and walked straight up to Shane. "Model Shane, please watch your mouth. I don't need any rumors linking me to you out of nowhere." After that day, Alex Xu publicly announced that the Southwest Original IP fashion design series Fallen Petals had officially entered the planning stage. Both the runway and promotional versions would be developed in parallel, with the lead designer from Southwest personally overseeing production on site. The news spread like wildfire across every fashion headline. The hype around Fallen Petals skyrocketed. Fashion apps and platforms began accepting pre-orders for licensing and brand collaboration. The copyright alone was rumored to be worth a fortune. Shane even posted on social media, asking for a chance to participate in the show. The move created a stir online. Fans started nominating their favorite models for the opportunity. Some even said that if a gold-tier supermodel like Shane was begging to get in, whoever did land the spot would shoot to fame overnight. Sponsors from every major fashion brand jumped in, fighting for a chance to back the project. Nathan's company submitted an application too, but every submission he sent was rejected. He was confused. He had always been able to secure the best sponsorship slots for past Southwest collections, but this time, he couldn't even pass the preliminary screening. He had been hoping that with sponsorship in hand, he could get Sienna a spot on the runway. But now, he couldn't even get his own company in, let alone Sienna. "How's it looking?" Shane asked. Nathan shook his head. "Our application got bounced back. But I heard the Southwest Designer Welcome Banquet is being held at this hotel tonight. I'll sneak you in. Try to make an impression in front of the lead designer." Sienna nodded eagerly. "I've heard the Southwest designer never shows their face. What if it's some middle-aged auntie in her 40s or 50s? "I've never seen them either," Nathan replied. "But with skills like that, they're probably not young. Still, I get the feeling that designer has it out for us." "Why would you say that?" Sienna asked. "Because even the smallest media company, Rainbow Fashion Media, passed the preliminary round, but our application was returned within 5 minutes. Not even reviewed. That's not normal." "Could it be because of designer Alex Xu?" Sienna asked. Nathan let out a long sigh. "Maybe. He's the one who suggested this welcome banquet, saying that having me show up publicly would be great for promoting the new fashion series." I sat at the head table, watching Alex Xu mingle effortlessly, exchanging toasts and laughing so much it looked like he might float off the ground. Shane sat beside me with his usual cheeky expression and asked, "So, were you really divorcing because of me?" "If that's the case, I don't mind. You get divorced in the morning, and we get our marriage license in the afternoon. For the wedding, let's just do a destination one. How about Scandinavia?" I frowned and snapped, "Absolutely not. And could you please just shut your mouth?" Just then, a fashion investor walked over. "Southwest designer, can I have a toast with you?" I shook my head. "No." The man laughed awkwardly. Okay, he said, turning around, only to bump right into Sienna, who was holding a glass of wine and walking over. "Mr. Lee, let me toast you instead." Mr. Lee, likely frustrated after I'd turned him down, simply set his glass down on the table and said flatly, "You don't even have an invitation. How did you get in?" Nathan quickly stepped forward. "I brought her." Mr. Lee's tone softened a little, but he still said, "I don't recall Southwest sending you an invitation." Sienna brashly replied, "We got one." Mr. Lee turned to look at me, as did Nathan and Sienna. I set down my lemon water and calmly looked at both of them. "Strange, I don't recall sending you an invitation." Sienna opened her mouth to speak, but Nathan stopped her. "You're Southwest?" Sienna's face twisted with disbelief. "She's Southwest." Shane doubled over laughing, barely able to contain himself. "Yep, she's Southwest." Alex Xu glared at Sienna, his brows furrowed in disgust. "You shameless thing, you still have the nerve to show your face here?" Sienna's face flushed and paled. alternating between red and white. She shook her head, staring at me. No, no way. Alex stood up and shouted, "Security." Just as Sienna opened her mouth again, Nathan grabbed her and said, "Sorry to interrupt." The two of them had just reached the exit when I stood and raised my voice. "Since all the top leaders of the fashion media industry are here today, I have something to say. Nathan Grant and I are legally married. During the time our marriage was in effect, Nathan cheated on me with Sienna." The entire room turned toward Sienna. She spun around and quickly defended herself. "That's not true." There were already journalists present, and camera flashes immediately started popping everywhere. In a panic, Sienna tried to shift the blame. "Nathan told me he was already divorced. I was deceived. I never knowingly got involved in anyone's marriage." Nathan looked back at her, stunned. Back then, it was Sienna who said she didn't care. She said she was willing to wait, even if she had to give up being a supermodel. Out of guilt, Nathan had poured everything into building her career from the ground up. Now, all the cameras turned toward Nathan. Watching the expression on his face, I couldn't help but feel a little pity. But this wasn't the time to back down. "So, I'm making a formal announcement," I said. "From this day forward, any fashion series I design is off limits to Nathan Grant's company, and Sienna is banned from walking in any of my shows. Anyone who has collaborated with them will also be excluded from any future work involving my designs." Mr. Lee was the first to look pleased. There were only so many top media companies in the industry. With my backing, Mr. Lee's company had always come in second to Nathan's. But now that I had publicly cut ties with Nathan, his company would naturally rise to the top. He stood up. "I've never collaborated with Nathan Grant, and Sienna has no connection to my company either. I hope Southwest's future sponsorships will keep me in mind. Here's to a great future together." Soon after, fashion media companies across the industry began releasing official statements refusing to work with problematic public figures. Within a few days, Nathan's company had lost nearly 80% of its clients. As for Sienna, although her name wasn't mentioned publicly, everyone in the industry knew exactly who it was. Naturally, she started receiving contract termination notices one after another. Nathan later asked to meet me in the cafe downstairs. I hadn't planned to go, but he said he wanted to give me the divorce papers. I reluctantly went downstairs in my loungewear. Nathan sat by the window in the cafe, dark circles under his eyes. It was obvious he hadn't been sleeping well. When he saw me sit down, his gaze immediately dropped to my hands. "When did you take off the ring?" "The day you booked a hotel room with her." Nathan looked up at me. "That day, I just dropped her off. Nothing happened. What will it take for you to believe me?" I looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. "What are you even talking about? Do you still think that matters?" "Of course it matters. Isn't that why you're divorcing me?" "Nathan," I said slowly, "don't you get it? We were never meant to be married, but I kept compromising, trying to make it work. And you? You knew this marriage didn't suit you, and you chose to put yourself first, but no one is born to live their life in compromise." Nathan pulled out an old photo of Shane from his youth and threw it onto the table. "It's because of him, isn't it? You're doing all of this because of him." I gave a faint, helpless smile. "Are you trying to relieve your guilt by shifting the blame?" He lowered his head. When he finally looked back up at me, he said quietly, "Can we not get divorced? What are you even saying right now?" "I'm saying I don't want to divorce you." I calmly picked up my cup of hot coffee and splashed it across his face. "Nathan, what, now that you realize I'm valuable again, you suddenly want to keep me?" He wiped his face with a napkin and, without raising his voice, said, "Unless you give me a valid reason, I won't agree to the divorce." "Stay calm. Even after 30 days, I'll still tell the judge I refuse to divorce. It won't be so easy for you." I clenched my fists and took several deep breaths. The wedding ring didn't even fit me. You must have known that. Nathan's hand froze mid-wipe. "But you said it fit." "I said that because I thought you'd just gotten my size wrong, and I wanted to protect our marriage. But the truth is, that ring was meant for Sienna. She just turned you down, didn't she?" "You say you don't want a divorce," I said, my voice shaking, "but which of your actions has ever shown that? Was it hiding our marriage to protect Sienna's public image, just in case she came back to you one day? Or was it calling her the one you love at your 5-year anniversary fashion show? Nathan, I did everything I could for this marriage. But I'm done draining myself for it. He lowered his head again and gave a bitter chuckle. Then he silently slid a signed divorce agreement across the table. I didn't change anything, he said. It's the same version you sent me. I signed it. I failed you in this marriage. With the Fallen Petals fashion series officially wrapped, both the male and female leads were newcomers. The model had been recommended by Shane. I didn't trust his mouth, but I did trust his eye for talent. The runway presentation began today. Shane sat beside me, sulking. Are you serious? You really made me an extra? I sipped on my soda through a straw. You were the one begging to be in the show, even just as a background extra. I'm a top model in the fashion industry, babe. Don't call me babe, I snapped, shooting him a glare. He pressed his lips together. Well, only you could get away with making me an extra. The massive scenes for Fallen Petals had all been personally supervised by Alex Xu. Between the runway choreography and set building, it had taken nearly 400 days to complete. The buzz had been constant since the beginning and only grew stronger with time. I stayed on site all 400 days. I even played a minor extra myself. The worst part? I played the wife of Shane's character. On the final day of filming, Shane showed up with coffee in hand. The moment he saw me, he shouted, "Wifey." I immediately threw one of my shoes at his face. "Shut up." "Sorry," he mumbled. "Guess I haven't stepped out of character yet." "Bullshit," I snapped. "Your part wrapped 200 days ago. And to make matters worse, Alex Xu, crafty fox that he is, edited the entire promotional trailer to be nothing but scenes of me and Shane. Suddenly, we were flooded with CP fans, people shipping us as a couple. With my identity as the lead designer backing him, even Shane's fans overwhelmingly approved. A top model and an award-winning designer, they're a perfect match, they said. The runway showcase and the promotional series launch for the Fallen Petals fashion line were scheduled on the same day. That same day, I happened to catch a fleeting trending topic under the hot search bar. D-list star Sienna holds wedding on a private island today. I clicked on it out of curiosity, only to find that the groom wasn't Nathan. The related articles were all about Sienna's romantic history. Her current husband was a vice president at a publicly listed company. The entertainment reports said he had gifted her a $1 million yacht. In the photos, the man didn't look too unbearable under the haze of wealth, but the glaring bald spot on his head couldn't be ignored. Apparently, when a 50-year-old man has enough money, even his flaws start to look forgivable. In the wedding photos, Sienna's smile didn't seem as genuine as the one she wore on the yacht. Meanwhile, major fashion platforms were practically at war over the rights to broadcast Fallen Petals. In the end, Alex Xu selected a reputable streaming platform to release 3 series per night at 8 p.m. Once the runway version reached 50 episodes, the promotional series would also be launched. Shane personally went all in on promotion. Whether it was Weibo or offline events, his voice was everywhere. In fact, he spoke more words during promotional appearances than the entire creative team combined. The irony? He was only playing a minor background character. Alex Xu shook his head as he watched Shane ramble nonstop. "Just endure it," he muttered. "He is a top model after all." I stood off to the side, clenching my back teeth in frustration. I was supposed to be off work at 8 p.m., but thanks to Shane talking endlessly, I had to stay an extra hour. Later, we celebrated the huge success back at the apartment. Shane, Alex Xu, the male and female leads, everyone had a little to drink. Shane grabbed my hand and forced our fingers to interlock. "Anna, I love you." I pushed his hand away. "You love my ass." Just then, the doorbell rang. I figured it was the food delivery I'd ordered. But when I opened the door, I was met with a pair of familiar eyes. "Hi, Miss Grant," he stopped mid-sentence, then lifted his head and looked straight at me with forced calm. "Here's your delivery." I took the bag from him. Before I could close the door, Shane wrapped himself around me like an octopus, shouting, "Anna, I love you. I love you. Did you hear me?" Nathan's hand trembled. The skewers he had brought dropped all over the floor. He quickly came to his senses. I'm sorry. I'll pay for the food." I bent down to help him pick up the skewers. "It's fine. They're still wrapped." He gave a strained, ugly smile. "All right. Then I won't bother you anymore." He turned around and dashed down the stairs without even waiting for the elevator. Shane still wouldn't let go. "Anna Grant, didn't you hear me? I said I love you." I finally snapped and smacked him on the head. "Are you brain dead?" Nathan probably thought it was just Shane and me in the apartment. I didn't bother explaining. At this point, we were just strangers. But that idiot Shane came after me again. "My parents are getting divorced," he blurted. "My dad wants to take me away. But I couldn't let you wait for me, that's why I said no back then." I pinched his lips shut. "Enough, don't say anything more. I'm over love, I only care about career and money now." Shane let go, sat on the floor, and started chugging wine, laughing like a fool. "Men, 3 drinks in, and suddenly they're all soft-hearted," I muttered. "Acting like they're in a tragedy." The Fallen Petals show turned the lead actors into overnight sensations. Both of them won Best New Model awards. I clapped from the audience, tears welling in my eyes as they thanked me on stage. Shane leaned toward me. "You know your ex-husband, Nathan? Word is, Sienna took him for everything he had. I heard he's delivering food now to pay off his debts. Used to be, a few $1,000,000 was just a casual check for him, and now he's delivering takeout? Rough times, huh?" I turned to him, teary-eyed, and said, "Don't make me block you at the most touching moment of the night." As for Nathan, he got what he deserved.